Welcome to Geeks Corner. I'm Mr. Daps.
I'm Katie.
And we are so excited that you're here tonight. We have a fantastic show lined up for you.
Good deal.
It's one of our bests. Like, this is going to be not just the most recent, but also one of the best, I think.
It's because I brought toys.
Oh, is that why it is? I mean,
Yes.
You want to talk about your toys really quickly?
Well, you can do the plug first, and then I can talk about.
Oh, you want me to do the plug?
Yeah, do the plug
If you're going on a Disney trip anytime soon, we would please ask you to use Mouseways Travel. They are our travel partners, and when you use them, they're going to make your life easier so you can focus on the magic while they focus on the details. You'll also be supporting Daps Magic and Geeks Corner, so everybody wins. It's a no-charge service. There's no extra fees, none of that, and everybody wins, so I love it. How is that?
That's great.
Okay, what should people do?
Go to geekscorner.live and go in the little chat box.
Yep.
And say things. And you might see your comments put up on the screen, potentially.
And we should make a note, our good friend Angela, it is her birthday today. So happy birthday, Angela. We're glad you could join us. I believe you're actually from Disneyland as well. As is our special guest tonight, we have our good friend Clocky from Sent From Disneyland, who will be on the show very shortly, live from Disneyland. And we're not going to do it for 24 hours. We're happy to say that.
You could say that his stream was sent from Disneyland.
But that is true. Very good. Well played.
This guy gets it.
You know what I love is we can see him as we're talking. This is like a new way to do Geeks Corner is you can see the people watching you without them being in the room. Yeah, I
like it.
I do too.
That's fun. Hey, can we recruit people to be our virtual audience?
Right. It's like when we used to have people in the room. One other thing, though, we should talk about is over the weekend when we saw Clocky at Disneyland, before we went to Disneyland, we actually went to the Heritage Museum of Orange County, and we got to see a project that our good friend I almost said Carter Sauce, but that's
Carter Sauce Sam
Carter. But you know what? You get stuck with the names anyway.
Mr. Daps.
Yes. But our good friend Sam Carter has a new endeavor called Party Art Signs that we stopped by and saw very quickly the other day. And what he does is he makes these really cool signs, and we'll show the one we have in just a minute. But he made all of these, designed them, and here they are at the Heritage Museum. But they're kind of, you could say, Disney inspired, maybe a little bit. Might
they
recognize
are
some public domain that might have a little bit of magic to them, or a little bit of Halloween, or a little bit of both. But very cool stuff that he is doing. There we are with my Daps Magic sign that he made and gave me. Bless you.
Thank you.
And you can also see that sign right behind us, right here.
That's
magic. Thank you, Sam. And make sure to go to partyartsigns.com or find him on social media at partyartsigns. And if you know anybody who needs one of these things, this is where to get it.
It's true.
All right, moving right along.
So, moving right along to...
Oh, yeah, talk about this.
Thank you. I've been waiting for my opportunity, and I was not given. So, today I decided to retry my quest for Disney McDonald's toys. And as you may know, we've not had a lot of luck with that. I don't know if your last meltdown was on camera or not, but there was a very intense... No, it was. You threw the Happy Meal box on Geeks Corner.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
I like that.
So we succeeded this time. We both got the same toy, though. So we both got Lady from Lady and the Tramp.
So 1 out of 50, not bad.
It's a Magic Kingdom background.
We have 49 more to go.
Cinderella Castle. I'm sorry, I heard noises and I thought that the world was...
I was just moving my feet.
Imploding. I was scared that the whole set was going to come.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So that was a thing. But I came home with my Happy Meal toys, and my parents were like, "Oh, great, we have raised a 24-year-old child that just bought herself a Happy Meal." But were you
happy?
I was very happy.
There you go.
So yes, my parents were very, very proud, and they actually said, "That's super funny. Guess what we found while we were cleaning the garage today?" And they found this Fantasyland.
Notice the difference in quality of Happy Meal
I know.
toys.
I was like, listen,
this beautiful glass from 1989.
Yeah.
That's a Fantasyland Disneyland glass.
It has a whole description on the back. This was apparently my grandmother's. It was in her like a box of like her glasses and things,
which is very cool.
Yeah. So I just wanted to brag about it because it's very, very fun. This is coming home with me after because it's very precious, but it's a very fun little thing. There's Matterhorn, there's the Skyway, there's
Maybe we'll take some pictures of it and put it on the Geekstagram's
Mayhaps.
Insta story.
Mayhaps.
We will do that after the show.
Yes.
All right. So moving right into the Week of Geek, we're not even going to put the graphic up, but today we learned about Disney Plus Day, which will take place on the second anniversary of Disney Plus, which is November 12th, if you didn't know. And on that day, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings will be available on Disney Plus, as will Jingle Cruise.
Oh,
Wish it was Jingle Cruise.
Could have been?
Jungle Cruise. I wonder if there's a postcard for Jingle Cruise. That would be pretty cool. Home Sweet Home Alone will be there. There will be a thing that's focused on the backstory of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
There will also be Olaf Presents, which is Olaf talking about Disney shorts or explaining Disney shorts as he's done.
I love.
And I think that's going to be hilarious. There's going to be some shorts that were released or created already, like Feast, Paperman, Get a Horse, that will be arriving as well. Second season of The World According to Jeff Goldblum is coming, which is definitely a win, and some other stuff. What do you?
Luca Short.
A Luca Short. I almost skipped
that.
it. Well, I can't really read that screen.
It's okay.
So
I was just excited about it.
and I think that's gonna be great too. What is the thing you're most looking forward to?
I'm really looking forward to Shang-Chi being on Disney Plus for everybody
And getting to watch it again.
Yeah, because I'm super stoked to rewatch it.
I am curious how, knowing now that it's November 12th, that's arriving on Disney Plus, how that will impact the box office results between now and Disney 12th on Disney Plus Day.
Disney 12th. It's a national
Disney 12th,
holiday.
That's what it's actually called, is Disney 12th.
November has been renamed Disney.
Yes. But I'm curious to see if that has any impact on things.
And maybe this is me being ignorant, has it been announced when Black Widow is becoming public for streaming?
I don't remember. I feel like it might have been, but I don't
100% know.
Anyway, we're looking forward to Disney Plus Day. Apparently there's going to be news, trailers, and all sorts of other things coming out, and a blue carpet.
Mark your calendars. It's not a bank holiday yet, but it will be.
They're working on it. Right. All right. Moving right along. The other big thing we thought we'd cover this week is Space 220 is now opened at Epcot, and we have reservations on October 1st. We will be flying to space.
I was like, we won't tell you when. Don't come find us.
Oh, too late. We'll be flying to space to eat we still have gravity, so it'll be fine.
Do you think I could pass for under 12? Because I want the trading cards and the rocket
Maybe you can
zipper.
just buy them.
No, they said you have to be a child.
Oh,
Do you think
then you might be out of luck.
No!
I don't know.
I look 10.
Okay. But so this is open. We're excited for it. I think it's going to be great. I think it might be one of the coolest things we get to do while we're in Florida, and that will be very awesome. And
I just really, really like getting to experience Disney things when they're new.
Yeah.
Because it's shiny and it's wonderful and everything works and all of the intended effects are there. Like, I think specifically, I think about Indiana Jones Adventure a lot and the effects that didn't exist past the first month or two. So it's just really cool to get to see Disney things when they open.
Totally
I'm very
agreed.
excited.
And you get to go to space. I mean,
and I get to go to space, and I get to eat, I think astronaut ice cream is what they're serving.
And
there.
you're going to get to see all of the different connections to other properties that happen in
like
space,
the lightsabers
and an X-wing and all of that fun stuff. So that will be very cool, and we'll let you know how that goes. And I'm sure we'll have video up on this YouTube channel that you will not want to miss. So if you haven't done it yet, subscribe and
follow Mr. Dapp's Instagram now, because he will be Insta-storing our meals.
Yeah, I usually do, don't I?
You do.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
No,
all right.
I just figured I would plug you.
Okay. Well, let's move right along into the main event of the evening that we're actually really excited about. More excited about than Space 220. We're more excited about this than Disney Plus Day.
Whoa!
I was talking to my good friend Clocky the other day, and we realized we've been friends for around 9-ish years, and he can give me a thumbs up or thumbs down as I'm watching him. Thumbs up. Good. So we've been friends for about 9-ish years, and Clocky has, I think, one of the most fascinating hobbies, and it's all built around postcards and maps.
Yeah.
And he's taken this hobby and he's made it into a podcast. Called Sent From Disneyland. It also is a fantastic Instagram handle, so you should go check that out as well. But we are going to invite our good friend Clocky straight from Disneyland to hop on our stream, and we are going to welcome you now. Hey, Clocky, Yay! How are you?
I'm doing all right. It is.
I would hope so. You're at Disneyland.
Oh, yeah. It's cooling down, which is great. Just hanging out at Toontown Depot.
Why not?
But yeah, why not, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And that's ironic because just the other night we were looking at maps from days gone by as to where different things in that region of the park were 5 or 10 years ago versus where they are today.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's get right into what you do, Clocky, because you do a lot of really cool things. But let's go into the origin story of how you created Sent from Disneyland.
Okay. So one morning in my apartment, I was watching TV like you do on a Saturday morning.
Absolutely.
I was watching one of those regular news stations of like, oh, this is what's going on in Sacramento. And they said, oh, right now at the Shriners Hall or the Scottish Rite Temple, there is a vintage paper fair. And I said, vintage paper fair? Why not? So I went down to see what it was and started buying relatively cheap Disney postcards, Disney maps, Disney photos, whatever was ephemeral, buying Disney tickets, just buying what was there, maybe spend $100. And then I started going to these paper fairs on a regular basis.
What year was this?
Sometime before 2008.
Okay.
And then
Cool.
so I just started collecting. And then I just had all this stuff. And the nice thing, so as great as the McDonald's toys are, as amazing as that glass is, the best thing about vintage paper is it stores flat.
That's true.
That is true.
Right? I could have 100 of those glasses. I could have 50 of those McDonald's toys and 50 postcards. The postcards are going to be in a smaller section. So I started saving them up, and then I wanted to do something with them. So I started showing them on my At the Real Clocky Instagram. I would do photo in the parks with some of the old photos. I had the tickets just because I like collecting things, and having those were great. And then a friend of mine started a podcast and then stopped working just podcasting. Not that that's what I'm trying to do, but I said, oh, you know what?
Right.
What if and another friend of mine brought this up. Why don't I breathe life back into these old postcards? So I started researching the backgrounds of each postcard, looking at the back, reading what was on the back, and then took that a step further to making a short, usually less than 15 minutes, usually less than 10 minutes podcast about 2 postcards that were sent from Disneyland from 1955 is my oldest. I have one that was sent about a month after the park opened.
Wow.
And then I would say to the present, but no one, this guy is the only guy that sends postcards. So realistically, up until the 80s, I have a lot of postcards. The 90s, a few. The 2000s, a couple. But I keep my eyes open and go to vintage paper fairs and pick up what I can buy.
And you pick them up from all over the place too. It's not like you just get them locally.
Right. So I travel. I live up in Sacramento, so I travel to San Francisco to the vintage paper fair. They do those 3 times a year. They used to do one also in a couple of the other towns around San Francisco. When I travel for work, I've picked them up from antique shops in Michigan, Washington, D.C. I pick them up from Utah, from Oregon. Anywhere I am, I'll go to a vintage store, I'll go to an antique store, and I'll search their postcards and see what they got.
And I just rated your Instagram this afternoon and found a couple of them, but like there's some gorgeous pictures that you've collected through the years. And these were just recent ones that you've posted that I thought were absolutely amazing. Like, I love them. We look up here across from us on the left in the studio. I think there's like 13 or 14 of them that you've sent us from the parks through the years. And it's amazing. Like, you've got a black and white Sleeping Beauty castle from back in the day. I don't know which year. And the Disneyland mailbox one is always classic. And I love that you basically stumbled into this hobby that totally fascinates me and we've geeked out about it, I think, for years. Like, I think one of my favorite memories with you was we were along the rivers of America that one night. And was it Fantasmic we were talking about?
Mm-hmm.
That was Fantasmic. Yeah. Yeah. That was, we were talking about Fantasmic. We were looking at the, specifically 2 maps that had the Mark Twain on it at night.
Uh-huh.
Which I just rode, by the way. I rode the Mark Twain at night because it was running.
Good choice.
Come on, you don't not do that. And I had actually written a postcard to someone, a vintage one, of the Mark Twain at night, and had sent it to her and said, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to write this at night. I don't think they really run it at night anymore. And then I walked over and they were running it. And so I had to scratch that out and say, just kidding. I'm on that attraction right now. Have a good time. I mean, I started buying postcards and didn't think I was going to do anything with them other than send them from the park, right? Fulfill their mission. Right. And I used to send to a buddy of mine who I met through Instagram and through Disney. And the main point was to write a postcard and say, hey, I'm here and you're not, having fun at Disneyland. Ha ha, Clocky. and I would do this, and it's funny because I recently stumbled across someone who said, oh, we used to do that at the payphone when there were payphones in Disneyland. We'd go to the payphone to make a phone call. And I think, yeah, it's easy to like post on Instagram or post on Facebook. Oh, I'm at Disneyland, and everyone gets jealous. But when you write the postcard, there's intent. So you write the postcard. I'm at Disneyland. You're not. And I come to find out that he had some medical issues, and those postcards really brought him life because he was like, oh, it was really great to see someone cheered at me while I was at Disneyland. And I was like, no, that's not what this is about. This is about me being a jerk and saying I'm at Disneyland and you're not. But when I send postcards, and I'm here, I'll push. World Postcard Day is October 1st. Send postcards. Everyone send postcards. It's an amazing thing. This week, I'll send out 150 plus postcards or cards or letters to people. And there will be 2 or 3 that someone will come back and say, I was having a lousy day. And then I opened the mail and there was your postcard, changed my attitude. And it's awesome. And it feels great to do that. So World Postcard Day, October 1st. It's the second one that we've had. So it's the second World Postcard Day. This started last year.
So who created it?
There's a group called Post Crossing. It's an online, I would say, low impact pen pal situation. Yeah. So you pull a name, you write a postcard to that person, send it out, and that's the least you have to do. And then your name will get put in, and someone will send you a postcard. And there's I don't have to send that person a postcard back. I just have to send the next person a postcard. And I just started doing it recently. I have friends that have been doing it for years. It's been around since the mid 2000s, about 2005. They have postcards going across the world. So at this point, I just started in April. I've sent or received a postcard from every continent except for Antarctica.
We got to fix that.
Gotta fix that.
I know, but it's on my list.
That's got to happen. So you've collected, I'm going to guess, thousands of postcards through the years by this point. If you're sending out 150 just this weekend alone, are there any that really stand out to you through the years? Like one that's more memorable or iconic or unique? Yes,
there are some that I would say would require the Disney Plus free description of some things content back in the day. Content warning of things were okay, and now these things are not. And so I have those postcards to the side. Maybe Sent From Disneyland Plus will come around and put those somewhere. I have one from the 70s about a divorce. There are some, and I won't get into the details, but when I'm looking up a postcard and I can't read the name, I know that most of these postcards have come from someone who's died, right? These postcards are from people who got postcards, and then those postcards either got put into an estate sale, or someone just sold them to a postcard dealer. And so I'll use Find a Grave, and I've come across some that I go, oh, this is really tragic that this person got this postcard and then died X number of months later. Or I've got another one that was a really sad story about the guy who received his son had died after returning from Vietnam, and then was a surfer and didn't make it back. And so those things really stand out. I don't talk about them on the podcast because they're deep. And I try to keep it light on the podcast, but there's things that, like, if we want to talk about all of them, it's interesting to look at the life story. And again, the nice thing about it, like what my friend had said, was breathing life back into these postcards. Yeah. These postcards are essentially dead. So someone would use them as a scrapbook or repurpose them as, like, I don't know, a bookmark, or would just kind of throw them away eventually. This is giving those postcards, one more round, one more life.
Yeah, I love that. It was interesting listening to you read these different postcards on the podcast too, because one, I was shocked at how short most of them seemed to be, like 1 or 2 sentences. Especially, it seemed like, I could be making a guess, but it seemed like older ones were shorter. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say that I would have to look at it. There might be something there. There seems to be a peak. In the 50s, it was, hey, everyone, we're doing fine. We got there. We'll be back on Thursday. Be sure to pick us up. Which I go, the mail was faster than the airplane at that point. Or they knew that they were going to be gone for an extra day. So there's those ones. And then you get into the 60s and 70s, and I've got some that are actually hand typed. That it was typed on a typewriter. And it goes on for a while. I have some that, have filled the entire postcard except for the address line, right? And everything is filled out. Oh, the other ones that stand out to me every time I look at a postcard, and I consider these people kings of town. When you could write like Mr. Daps, Anaheim, California, and it would get to you.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's places that I see, and I mentioned it when I run across it in the podcast, where I look at the town, because I always look at the address to see if it still exists. So I'll blank it out when I show the backside of the postcard. I'll look and I'll go, oh, this town has 50 people in it. So yeah, you could send it to,
totally
Bill Williamson at, random town, Iowa, and it would get to him without anything else.
That is very cool.
Those were always fun.
I also wondered, as I was listening to it, you tend to say, you say you estimate they went to the park on this specific day. How do you do that?
Okay, so I based most of that either on the postmark and assume that they went, if they don't mention it in the postcard, they said, oh, we're going to Disneyland Friday. Then I go, okay, they went on Friday. I look at the postmark date. I pull up, I was smart and bought this book way back when it was available. It's called Jason's Disneyland Almanac.
Huh. And
it has every day Disneyland was open, park hours, the weather, and anything that might have happened special on that day. Katie, are you okay? Here's the thing.
That's amazing.
So that book is now out of print, because I wanted to buy a second one so I could highlight it as I go through. And I'm like, well, now I can't touch it because I've got to keep this one pristine. Right. And so I have that as like my Bible to go through and say, okay, if it was June 27th and they said they went on Friday, well, Friday was June 23rd. So I'll put that in. Or if they don't say anything, I'll assume it was the day before. Or if the postmark is further away from Disneyland. So if it's in San Diego, if the postmark is in, a lot of people would go from Disneyland either to Las Vegas, San Diego, or the Grand Canyon. So if it has one of those postmarks on it, I usually will give it an extra day if they don't mention. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. There's a little bit of deduction in there, I guess, a little figure your Sherlock out. And that is really cool. You've also, I'm going to hit this just because the maps thing. This isn't exactly your podcast, but it could be another one, to be completely honest.
It will be part of a podcast soon, but go ahead.
Okay, good. We just broke news.
Breaking!
Breaking news. So I'm assuming the maps kind of came along at the same time with the postcards in the process of collecting. Is that fairly accurate?
At the Vintage Paper Fair, the big things that were there were postcards all over the place. Some photos, some tickets, and then a lot of maps. And so I started just buying maps when they were at the right price point. Don't go on eBay and spend too much on a map, but a good price point, I'll pick up a map. So I've got a handful of maps. I don't have every single year or every single season when it gets to the 70s, but I have a lot of the maps from 56 through mid 70s, early 80s.
Wow. And I mean, we're going to have one up on the wall here fairly soon. I think as soon as we finish getting it framed, but from you, so you'll be on Geeks Corner every week then. But do you have a favorite map that you've collected through the last few years?
And why is it DC 1.0?
I do like the DCA 1.0 map. The DCA 1.0 fun map is fun, or the other one, the one that is in the fun map, the opening day map, that one's a lot of fun as well.
Mm-hmm.
I should have taken advantage of it, but my favorite map is the 58 map.
Huh.
Because it's right before the Matterhorn, it's right before the monorail, it's right before e-tickets, it's right before the added. And one time I was in the park, and there was an old man sitting on a bench taking photos of stuff. I'm like, who is this old man? He looks familiar. And it's Bob friggin' Gurr.
Oh my gosh.
And I took a picture of him holding my map, and I didn't even think of having him sign that map. I should have had him sign the map. But the 58 map is one of my favorites. I have 2 copies of it because it's different from all the other maps. And I'm sad that the map book that came out was great, but I wanted like every map in there. There's an awesome thing between the 1960 map and the 1961 map, and that was the addition of the Disneyland monorail, Disneyland hotel stops was added.
Oh, okay.
Everything about the map is identical except for the extra loop that goes over there. And so like there's details about the map that I go like, why did you put it in this book? This is really interesting detail about like these 2 maps that look identical. And then the 62, 63, and 64 map were almost identical all the way through except for color. But like that little detail would be fascinating for people to learn about.
Oh, no kidding. Do you suppose it was missed in the book mainly because people just don't know about it like you do?
I think it was missed in the book because they wanted to highlight all the maps of all the parks everywhere. Okay. So at some point, I think it was just kind of we want to show these maps. So they show the 57 map in there, and they show the opening day map, of course. And then they showed the additions to, and Katie, they showed DCA 1.0, but then the additions to DCA.
I was worried.
Happened right afterwards. Yeah, they showed Bugs Land being added and all that kind of stuff, which is great and it's interesting. But like, give me a Disneyland book.
Yeah,
one of my favorite books, and it's hard to come by. And any I finally got one, and they range for about $200. I got it for $200, but up to $400 or $500, and that's the Nickel Tour, and it's just Disneyland postcards all the way through.
So you should do your own Disneyland postcard book someday.
I hope so. I think someone's working on it. I'm sure one of the Disney authors is working on a postcard book at some point. Let's hope. But
I think that Disney author should be you.
I agree.
We'll see what happens. That postcard book is exhaustive. It's got everything in it. I mean, there's a couple postcards I brought with me to this trip that I didn't get a photo and postcard, but I wanted to, of lenticular postcards of Main Street, the castle, and the Mark Twain. And they're wild. Okay, hand. Hang on, leaning over. I'm trying not to drop everything. So this is the one.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's hard to see it. The lenticular part about it is very subtle, but it's in 3 dimensions.
Wow. That is super cool.
I expect people wearing that at the Disneyland Christmas parties. Right?
Well, that's the direction I was thinking of going. Also Dapper Day. That's Dapper Day. Wow, that is insane. And so if people want to hear your podcast, find you, whatever it is, where should they go?
A couple places: Spotify, iTunes, all the podcasters that are out there. If I'm not there, let me know. I'll add myself. It's a little bit of a challenge depending on the podcast app, but I've added myself just about to everywhere. I'm on Instagram, obviously, at Sent From Disneyland. Twitter doesn't allow such a large handle, so I'm just at Sent From Disney. I'm on Patreon at Sent From Disney, at Sent From Disneyland. Website to come soon.
Good.
I got a lot of requests recently for a map of the park and where the mailboxes currently are.
Ooh.
I think that's a brilliant idea.
So things that are coming. 1 is that. 2 is Katie, you mentioned the maps and breaking news. One of the cool things about maps is the ephemeral portion of it. And so I have maps that actually have check marks next to attractions that people went on. So at some point, I'm going to do a kind of travelogue of where did these people go? What did they ride? And I have one of them that says, skip it. Don't worry about it. Wasn't that fun? Didn't want to do it. So going through those. Are we at Geeks Corner Plus?
We're on Geeks Corner Plus.
Geeks Corner
I was
Plus.
waiting for like that grand reveal for you because I wanted you to be on Geeks Corner Plus.
I'm on Geeks Corner Plus now. An honor. But that'll be a podcast coming up at some point. Lots of stuff. I mean, I do 2 postcards a week, and I try to do the obscure things, the swimsuit store, I haven't done the Wizard of Oz yet, but that'll be one at some point. I feel everyone covers that one so much that like covering something smaller is awesome, or learning something. That's the one thing I never thought I'd do with the podcast, which was learn more than I knew about Disneyland or Walt.
Yeah.
And that you can pick up a new book and it may have a new fact, but like to learn something, like go, oh, I never knew that, and it's right here this entire time was just pretty wild.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. And it's a great podcast to listen to. I've been listening to it in the car the last couple of days to get ready for you being here. So I wasn't completely, I listened to it a while ago and then, I didn't for a while. Now I am again. So, but it's 8 minutes usually. So it's fantastic. Like I think I can listen to it depends on how many. I can listen to like 5 on the way home sometimes. But it really is interesting. Like one of the ones I listened to today was talking about Jungle Cruise, and I thought that was a really fun thing to get the perspectives from different people, and then hear you talking about the history of Jungle Cruise. And I think you must have released this before they had reopened the attraction. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did 2 Jungle Cruise episodes. I did one recently and did one before they reopened. And everyone calm down. Jungle Cruise has changed.
Yeah.
What?
I know, but I loved how you handled it. It was wonderful. And I loved that what you spoke about was completely relevant today, even though you were talking about things that had happened before the most recent change, because they were upcoming at the time, I think. And and I loved how you went back to, well, this is why it was changing when this person went to it and they couldn't go on the Jungle Cruise because they were changing it. And I love just like, oh, we're going back to, was it 64 in that episode, if I remember? Yeah,
something there was a couple of changes. It was really the Mark Davis change.
Yeah.
It was adding the comedy change. And, they talk about it on Disney Plus's Behind the Attraction, but there's been other changes. They added a tree called, now Tarzan's Treehouse, but that changed it. Pirates changed it. Everything's changed. I went on the new one for the first time this trip. It was different. It was fine.
Did you love it?
I wouldn't say I loved it. I go, yeah, this is also funny.
Mm-hmm.
These jokes are also funny. And guess what? These will last for now, and then something will change.
Yep. Totally will.
We'll get Jungle Cruise Plus.
Jungle Cruise Plus.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on tonight, Clocky. It has been an absolute pleasure. But Geeks Corner Plus has reached its, I don't know what we reached, but Zenith. We were tracking on that one. That was great.
We do not share revenue from Geeks Corner Plus though, so
that's fine. Go to Sent From Disneyland Plus.
Yeah, exactly. Head on over there, check out the Patreon, and become. And he also, you thank every Patreon member, don't you?
I do. It's fun, and it's fun. The organic ones I've received, and on top of the people that I know that have been patrons, and it's too much fun. I would say this patronage almost guarantees a postcard every time I'm at the park. Out of the 150, 20 of them are always going to be patrons, and the rest are going to be close friends, people who interact. And probably the only reason Katie goes to the mailbox for the PO box for Geeks Corner is a postcard every couple months.
That is 100% true.
That is fairly true.
100% true.
But thank you so much.
A couple of days.
There we go.
I was gonna look
before we head off to Florida. All right. Well, Katie, what should people do as we wrap up this show?
Go to disneymagic.com. Check out all the Disney and geek news as it happens. I don't know that we have any news about postcards. We could change that.
You never know.
Subscribe to our mailing list so you don't miss any of it.
And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a ton of videos going up from the past. And in the future, we will also have even more videos going up as quickly as we can get through them and our computers don't break. So you won't want to miss any of those as we cover the Walt Disney World 50th anniversary with videos, Harmonious Disney Enchantment, and so much more. You won't want to miss any of it. But that is all the time we have for you this week. So we will see you around the corner.
Bye.